Hello there, wonderful matrix. Welcome to Edu-cate. Let us talk about sex-linked inheritance in genetics and inheritance. What is sex-linked inheritance? Some diseases, they are transmitted from a parent to her offspring. Basically, you can hear them saying that a mother is able to transmit a disease to their offspring when she's pregnant, like for example HIV. So such diseases are actually known as sex-linked diseases. They are sex-linked diseases. They're actually diseases that are caused by certain alleles that are found in the sex chromosomes. So basically, to define sex-linked inheritance, you just, or if they say what is a sex-linked disease, you say this is a genetic disorder that is caused by, or it is linked to, genes located in the sex chromosome. So remember, the sex chromosome, it is the gonosomes, the one that are found on page number 23. So remember that we've got females which have got an XX chromosome, and then we've got males that have got an XY chromosome. These are gonosomes, and they are found on page number 23 in your normal human karyotype. So now here we have got X and X. You can see these are very tall chromosomes. The females have got 2 X chromosomes, whereas the males have got 1 big X chromosome and a smaller Y chromosome. So the smaller chromosome there is the Y chromosome. So now you can see that definitely the X chromosome is bigger than the Y chromosome. So in a sense here, we actually say that the X chromosome has got more genes than the Y chromosome due to its size. You can basically say that the X chromosome is big. So we can actually deduce that the X chromosome, this X chromosome carries more genes than the Y chromosome, since the Y chromosome looks smaller. So basically, the X chromosome is the one that is most likely to carry the allele causing the genetic disorder. So whenever we have got a sex-linked inheritance, or we have got a sex-linked disease that is transmitted from parent to offspring, it actually sits on the X chromosome. So those diseases, those sex-linked conditions, they are actually alleles that sit on the X chromosome. Why does it sit on the X chromosome? It is because the X chromosome carries more genes than the Y chromosome. So the Y chromosome is not able to carry a disease or to carry an allele that causes a disease, but the X chromosome is able to do that. So maybe we can say that when you write an X chromosome that has got a disease allele, maybe we can just say the disease is a dominant allele. The disease is a dominant allele, capital letter D. We write it in this notation to represent that the X chromosome here, it is actually the one that is carrying the defective allele. The X chromosome is the one that carries the allele with the disease. Because this is sex-linked, it has to sit on the X chromosome particularly. So if we say that this dominant allele causes, maybe let's just say diarrhea, it's just a hypothetical example. Let's just say this dominant allele causes diarrhea. If we want to describe someone that does not have diarrhea, let's just say we want to describe a girl that does not have diarrhea, we would have to say XX. Remember, a girl is an XX. If she does not have diarrhea, we have to write the opposite of someone that has got diarrhea. Because if we say that diarrhea is caused by capital letter D, a dominant allele, then the recessive allele will not have diarrhea. Because remember, dominant and recessive are opposite. So in this sense here, we can say X with a small letter D and small letter D. So if we put recessive alleles in this case, you can certainly see that this person, this girl here, this will be a female with no diarrhea. This is a female with no diarrhea or without diarrhea. How do we see that? It's because diarrhea is caused by a dominant allele. So someone that does not have diarrhea, we have to write small letter D. So whenever you're doing sex-linked inheritance, make sure that you don't just write XX, okay? You have to write X and indicate the condition on top. is the person infected or not. So now I've talked about sex determination already in my previous videos. I'll put the link in the comments so that you can check that out, as well as the link to my grade 12 life sciences playlist, whereby you can see all the content for this year. So now let us look at the examples using genetic crosses. So now here it says hemophilia is a sex-linked disease. Whenever they tell you sex-linked disease, make sure that you read the statement, because if you don't read the statement, you will not be able to note that this is a sex-linked inheritance type of situation. So here it says that hemophilia is a sex-linked disease that is caused by a presence of a recessive allele XH. Look at this. Hemophilia, it is caused by a recessive allele. So you can see the allele, it sits on the X chromosome because it has more genes. You can see that it's a recessive allele. You can see it's a small letter. If we've got a capital letter, it's a dominant allele. If we've got a small letter, it's a recessive allele. I also covered that in my introduction video to genetics and inheritance. Make sure that you also check that out in my playlist. So basically, here we say a normal father, look at this, a normal father and a heterozygous mother have children. Construct a genetic cross to determine the possible genotype and phenotype for the children. So we have got a normal father as well as a heterozygous mother. So whenever we do our genetic cross, we start with P1. So this is the parents' generation. So at the parents' generation, we start with the phenotype. So here our phenotype has to be based on the disease that we're talking about. In this case, we have got a normal father. So the father is normal. The father does not have the disease. So it's a normal father, or the father does not have the condition. And then what about the mother? The mother is heterozygous. Look at this. Heterozygous simply means that you have got a dominant and a recessive allele. Okay, you have a dominant and recessive allele. So here, if we have got a mother, basically the genotype has to be X and X, like this. And if she is heterozygous for this condition is represented by letter H. So if she is heterozygous, she must have a capital letter H and a small letter H. That is the basic meaning of heterozygous. You have got a mixture of a dominant allele and a recessive allele. So now tell me, what is the condition of this mother? Is the mother's phenotype going to be someone that is infected with hemophilia or not? You can pause the video and try to think about it before I tell you the answer. So here, basically, this mother does not have hemophilia. So the mother does not have a hemophilia, but she does have this allele that has got XH. Okay, first of all, let us analyze this carefully. Since we have said that hemophilia is caused by a recessive allele, when the mother is heterozygous, it means that she has a dominant allele and a recessive allele. That's why we wrote this type of genotype. So now, here, if we analyze the phenotype, remember, according to Mendel's second law, it says that whenever we have got an organism that is in a heterozygous condition, the dominant allele is the one that's going to show itself in the phenotype. In this case, the dominant allele X with a capital letter H has to be normal. Okay, has to be a normal person, because small letter H is an infected person. Remember what I said in the previous slide, that if capital letter D represents diarrhea, small letter d will represent someone who doesn't have diarrhea. Similarly here, we have got small letter h representing someone who has got hemophilia. So capital letter H will be someone who doesn't have hemophilia. But the female definitely has an X chromosome that has got the recessive allele. So basically, when a female has got a heterozygous condition for a sex-linked inheritance, we say that the female is a carrier. So it's a carrier female. Okay, it's a carrier female, all right. But the female, in essence here, she is normal. The female does not have the condition because the condition is a recessive allele. It is marked. It is not shown in the phenotype due to this heterozygous state that we've been told. I hope that sinks in. So now, let's talk about the genotypes. So for the father, remember the genotype for a male is XY for a sex-linked. In this case, we're doing sex-linked characteristic, and the father is normal. So we must have a capital letter H. Remember, I said don't just write XX or XY. If we are dealing with a sex-linked inheritance, you must, here we've been told that hemophilia, it is caused by a recessive allele. It means that since the father is normal, he will have a dominant allele because dominant is opposite to recessive. Hear me carefully here, matriculants. And if you have to rewind this video and watch it again, do that. Listen to me very carefully. Here, hemophilia is caused by a recessive allele, right? So the father is normal. It means that the father does not have hemophilia. So it means on the father's X chromosome, he will have a dominant allele because the dominant really symbolizes that it is the opposite of what the recessive is saying. And in this case, the recessive is saying hemophilia. So the normal one will be a dominant allele. Don't just write XY. You have to be specific that the person here has a dominant allele. And for the female, we've already said it will be X with a capital letter H and X with a small letter h, since the female has been said to be heterozygous. After this, we know that there will be meiosis, and during meiosis, it will lead to the formation of gametes. Remember, when it comes to gametes, all you do is to separate this with a comma, XH, comma, Y. You are crossing this with XH, comma, XH. Make sure here, do not change the alleles. You can see here we had X capital letter H, we still have X capital letter H. You had Y, you still had Y. You just separated them because meiosis separates cells. And then now, when the gametes meet, we say it is known as fertilization. So during fertilization, the gametes will meet. So the first gamete can go and meet with the first ovum there. The first sperm cell from the father can meet with the first ovum there. And would have X with an H on top, capital letter H, and X with a capital letter H on top. If we're gonna do a combination of the first gamete from the father's side to the second gamete from the mother's side, this will be X with an H on top, X with a small letter H on top. You can see here we have a small letter, right? And then if we are going to do a cross between the second sperm cell from the father, we cross it to the first ovum from the mother. That's going to be X with an H on top and Y. Start with X and then Y. Okay, don't do its alphabetic order in a sense. And then now, if you're gonna cross the second gamete from the father, you cross it with the second gamete from the mother's side. This will be X, H, and Y. So basically, these are the genotypes for the F1 generation. So if it happens that fertilization occurs, if it happens that the combinations of the sperm and the ovum, they will occur, they will be what? These genotypes. These are the possible genotypes. Now let us interpret their phenotypes, because here the question says construct a genetic cross to determine the possible phenotypes and genotypes for the children. Okay, let us interpret the first one, this one. This is X capital letter H, X capital letter H. It's a homozygous condition, homozygous dominant. So here we have got a normal female. XX is a female, right? So the female is normal here. So this is a normal female, right? And then the second one, this is still a female because XX, but this female, she is normal indeed, but she's in a heterozygous condition because she has a dominant allele, which is this capital letter H, and the small letter H, a recessive allele. So we say the female is a carrier, just like her mother. She's a carrier female. We say she's a carrier because even though she is normal indeed, the phenotype, she is normal, but we say it's a carrier because she carries the the recessive allele that causes the condition, but still she's normal because it is masked by this dominant allele. And then this one is a male. The third one in green is a male, XHY. And here you can see that this is a capital letter H. So this is a male, and this capital letter H just means that the male is normal. So we have got a normal male. And then the last genotype to interpret it, this is a male as well, but here this male has got a small letter H. So this is a male with hemophilia. Okay, male with hemophilia. Hemophiliac male. So let's just say this is a male infected with hemophilia. So you have determined. So now let me explain further on the carrier thing. All right. A carrier can only be a female because females have got an XX chromosome. Females have got two X chromosomes. So it is possible for one X chromosome to carry the recessive allele that causes the condition, and the other X chromosome to just be normal. All right. So that's why we say that a female is a carrier. But as for a male, males have got only one X chromosome. So once the male carries the allele that has got the condition, then the male is infected. Just like this last genotype here. This last possible genotype here is a hemophiliac male because he has one X chromosome, and that X chromosome on top of it, there is this recessive allele that causes the disease. So this is a question that can come up. Why do males have a greater chance of having a sex-linked disorder than the females? It's just what I've explained right now to say that males have got only one X chromosome because their sex chromosome is XY. So they've got only one X chromosome. And then if they've got only one X chromosome, if it happens that they inherit the affected allele, if it happens that a male gets the affected allele, just like in this previous example, the last genotype, you can see that the male here has got a small letter H, which is the affected allele for hemophilia in this particular case. Once they inherit this affected allele, then the male will have the disorder, all right? And because they do not have any other chromosome to mask it. But as for the females, the female can have a state like this, XH, XH. This female has got an X chromosome that is a recessive allele, but she is normal because the dominant is masking it. But for a male, once it's a state like this, once this male gets this X with a small letter H, then the male will be affected because they do not have any other X chromosome to mask this condition. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends to stay tuned.